welcome. As we are settling down, we'd like to encourage us to come forward so that we can be in the picture of our live stream. I hope you can hear me well. So I'm going to sort of do a very simple job of welcoming all of you and all of us and our spiritual realm and those who are with us that we can't see with the eyes. Here where we are today is mainly a follow-up process that started in 2021. I'm not going to elaborate that because there'll be people speaking to that. And on the main, it's a consultation towards the development of a BBBEE sector code, which is for the events, technical and production services sector, mainly which deals with music festivals, but not limited to that, and many other live events where services such as production is done. You know, that is the staging, that is the sound, lights, and so on. So I'm from the Department of Sport, Arts and Culture. This process that we are dealing with here is located there. And the National Department of Sports, Arts and Culture is the lead department that is assisting the sector to be able to do this kind of engagements. And we are working together with our sister department who are the mother body of the BBBEE Act, which is the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition. Now, of course, the BBBEE Sector Code is one of those tools that are used or employed as a means to facilitate transformation and promote a fair playing field in terms of our work that we do as we do our events and so forth. So we're at the last leg of these consultations. We've been there for a long time, so we're trying to finalize them before the end of March so that the part of consultation is done. We have this province, the Eastern Cape, and the Northern Cape, and another return to the Western Cape provinces, which are the last ones that we are dealing with. And then from there, we're going to we're going to consolidate the inputs and uplift the draft into a final draft that we will take into 2024-25. We'll push it into a gazetting stage. So that will bring us closer to finalizing the document, which will then eventually become a legal document and a binding document that will guide procurement services in the sector. It is a very critical document that we need. The way it's being developed, it's developed towards, that already there is a generic sector code somewhere there. But we feel the panelists will come and explain. They felt that they needed to tighten. So the department that allows different sectors in our society to develop their sector-specific sector codes to enhance that ability of creating this. So without any further ado, I would just like to also indicate to you that as we are seated here, there is a colleague of ours in the Netherlands who is by the name of Miss Lucia Mkoka. She is a BBBEE sector expert. She's been traveling with us in the road shows here in South Africa. And then there's another lady who also does this with us, Miss Julian Zimande, who also used to work for the Department of Trade and Industry. But Ms. Zimande is not available today. And Miss Julia will be here with us virtually. So this is the thing that slightly delayed us as well. We were trying to get the stream so that she can be with us virtually. I can see her here right now, and the colleagues are busy trying to sort out the other element of her too, so that you can see her on the screen. But whilst they're doing that, can I just pause a second? Oh, okay, good. All right. Just whilst I have an opportunity, that just sorting something there, I wanted to acknowledge our colleague, the Department of, the Provincial Department of Sport, Recreation, Arts and Culture. And I have with us here Mr. Machoba, who's at the back there. Basically, yes, thank you. We are always trying to see how we can team up to ensure that this kind of activities, they reach out to, as much as possible, our society. Now, I'm going to go again to the digital space and see if I can find the list, because there was a list of stakeholders. I'm not going to call everybody by name, but I'll just highlight the stakeholders that we reached out to, which is the Alfred Nzo district, and the OR Tambo district, and the Amatole district, and the Nelson Mandela district, and the Sarah Batman district, Buffalo City, Joe Gaba, Chris Hani, Matole. Have I left anyone out? But I think those are the ones that we reached out to in the Northern Cape. In the Eastern Cape, obviously, there's so many provinces that we are interacting with. Now, after these consultations, it's not the end. And even during the consultations, you will notice in some of the invitations maybe that you might have received, we do indicate that the document that we're talking about, which will be distributed, they can distribute the document now, which will be distributed to you. And I think there was a copy that was sent by email. That document is available in the website of the Department of Sport, Arts and Culture. And we are encouraging all stakeholders to engage with the document. And if there are any queries, we've indicated there who you can contact. You can contact me to, raise questions. There's even an email address where you can really engage, and, whatever comment you wish to share, we will collate it. So as we are in this last leg, we'll be sending out quite a number of regular posts on our social media platforms at the Department of Sport, Arts and Culture, to drive our stakeholders, who, particularly those who play a lot, or not to say, who work a lot in this sector, to engage with the document and give us written comments. Our platforms at the Department of Sport, Arts and Culture include Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. I think there is LinkedIn, but I still need to verify that one. But those four are there for us to interact with, and we are encouraging stakeholders to provide us, if you are coming from another bigger forum that you work with, whom you think might, bring in inputs, do share what you call social media handles. Social media handles, so that our team that works in this space you can always receive regular updates about how far are we with this process. Because right now, as we're getting closer to this finalization, we really wish to ensure that everybody is aware of how this document is shaping, because once implemented, it will impact on how we work in the future. And it's very important that we all participate. Now, in the gazetting stage, we will still have this opportunity of engaging virtually with the document and further inputs. The panel will be there assisting us with their expertise as they come from different sectors, as you will hear. The two moderators who are the BBBEE sector code and BBBEE overall experts will be there to assist and guide us. Whatever we contribute here, they will be able to indicate to us how it will impact scientifically in terms of how this BEE code or how the BEE works when you procure. Because as you may know, right, what we do with this code, basically we are influencing a policy direction, isn't it? And currently there are several policy documents or policy frameworks that guide how life is in South Africa. And when this one comes in, we need to do it with care so that we do not destabilize what is already there. You know, sometimes you can push in a policy and find that it just destroys life. So we just need to be cautious. So this is why we need everybody's participation and the experts who can see what City, I be 70%. Then somebody said, be careful. 70% means this. It means you are closing a particular door. And when you close that door, trains will no longer move. You know, so there is a bigger impact what we do with our little document. There will be a bigger impact as we manage our sector. Are we good to go? Okay. Right, so, but thank you for listening to me. I'm available here for the whole day. If there are other issues that you wish to understand that are not to do with this process, I'm here to represent them for the department. Where I do not have the answers, I'll let you know, but where I have, I can, all right? And we really would wish to encourage our stakeholders to assist the panel in engaging with this code, the BEE issues mainly. Ne? What are your challenges right now as you compete for sometimes we send out, the government sends out what they call requests for quotations for a particular event. What challenges do you have there? This is the discussion that this panel is churning for. And what are your suggestions in terms of improving those? Well, without any further ado, may I take the opportunity to introduce our colleague, Ms. Lucia, who is then going to give us an overview of the BEE, and thereafter, she's just our moderator for the whole day. And thereafter, she will be introducing our chairperson, Mr. Ntate Salemani. She will officially make a formal introduction, and then Ntate Salemani will introduce the panel, and he has a presentation that he will give to you. And then from there, we'll have a question and an answer and an engagement session. Thank you for your patience, and I know people have been traveling, and it has to be noted, some of you 300 kilometers and maybe even 400 kilometers to get here. So this really means this is how important it is. And in the last time you even went to the Western Cape, is it Western Cape, where we were clustered. So it was also, we were doing a cross country here. So this is how important this development is. Mr. Menzingele will be distributing the presentation as well as the actual proposed scorecard. Sometimes it may look complicated, but when we engage in it, gradually we get to understand and we'll be able to input. Melucia, welcome. You are somewhere in the Netherlands. We want now to hand over to you. And we are thankful that the virtual is here to help us and assist us with this kind of interactions. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you. Before you go back, Colin, please let me know if you can hear me.
Yes. Loud and clear. We can hear you, and soon I think we're going to be seeing you on the screen. I can see you here. I'm very selfish with you, so I'm the only one who can see you right now. But soon everybody will see you. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Thank you so much. Good morning, colleagues. Good morning to the panel that I always work with. Happy to be here, happy to join. I am now in a rainy Netherlands, but I am Lucia Mukoka, moderator of the session. And just to confirm a few things, I would have loved that Mr. Collins stayed on so that he can confirm certain things for me. The bathrooms, as well as if everybody's got a pen and a notepad, so that they can note, and they've got a copy of the codes as well as the agenda.
Yes, ma'am, they do have, and thank you for doing the house checking. We behaved when you were gone away, so we made sure that they do have all the necessary documentation and pens and pads, and writing pads. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Good morning once again. I would really love to see everybody. Just housekeeping rules. Please put your phone on silence. And if you have to take an urgent call, please make sure that you don't disrupt the conversation or you don't disrupt the space. And this is just a discussion. This is just a session to uplift you, to understand where we are. And please bring in your business hat. This is a session. This is a session to help you understand how the Triple BEE work. And I think we were having a conversation with my colleagues yesterday to say there's a difference between Triple BEE speaking in a social setting and Triple BEE in the actually working environment with Black people. So I'm going to quickly open my agenda. I don't know if you've got the agenda by the chairperson. Members, I haven't seen my panel members for a long time. I miss you guys. And then we're going to look at the agenda, and then the chairperson will do the presentation. Afterwards, I'll take the questions, and Mr. Colin and Menzi will help me with the session for question and answers. And then we will look at the way forward. Happy for me to call in Ajate Selemani to come and do the presentation, and then I will be here listening as well and summarizing as he goes. And then at the end of the session, we will then take questions and answers, and then I'll facilitate that session for us. Dr. Selemani, over to you.
Do it that way we had done it, so that this.
Yes. There it is.
Thank you, Lucia. Morning, ladies and gentlemen. As I was introduced, my name again, Oupa Salimani. I believe we're here until around 5 o'clock. I hope we all have the time to be until 5 o'clock. I'm pulling your leg. We won't be that long. The Event Technical and Production Transformation Forum was established in 2011 through the facilitation of the Department of Trade and Industry. That's how it was known then, and now it's known as the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition. It was established at that time so that it can transform the industry and that it also be guided by the broad-based Black economic empowerment policy. As you are aware, ladies and gentlemen, that since the establishment of our democracy in 1994, our country remains characterized by racially based income and social inequalities. And so, the creation of the BBBEE sector codes that we're going to be talking about here today is a mechanism aimed at addressing these inequalities and also to mobilize the energy of all South Africans so as to contribute towards the sustained economic growth, the development, and social transformation in our country. And of course, this was necessitated by the challenges that existed in the industry. And some of the challenges were that the industry is not regulated. It was also noted that there was a lot of fronting that is taking place in our industry where Black people who own nothing or own no equity in an entity were used to front and parade themselves as owners of businesses. And so all stakeholders agreed that the transformation was also happening at a very slow pace in our sector, and in some instances it was completely absent. And so this sector seeks to be transformed, and of course we need to accelerate the pace of this transformation. When we established this forum, the Event Technical Production Services Forum, we had a vision, and our vision was to have a prosperous event, technical, and production services industry that is globally competitive, that is inclusive, that is highly skilled, and also characterized by a shared growth and a strong commitment to human capital and, of course, the development of knowledge and our skills. I will now pause here to introduce the forum members, starting with EXA, EXA being short for Exhibition and Events Association of Southern Africa. And in our forum today, EXA is represented by Ms. Leanne Alder, the only lady. Yes, she's the only lady today. We have two other ladies, unfortunately could not make it. The second association that forms this forum is called SACI. SACI is short for South African Association for the Conference Industry. And today SACI is represented by its CEO, and sitting with us here is Mr. Clinton de Kock. Please welcome him. The other association is called IFIA, short for International Festival and Events Association, and IFIA is represented by Ms. Janet Landy. Unfortunately, she could not be with us today. Fourthly, we have SAMPA, SAMPA being short for South African Music Promoters Association, and today SAMPA is represented by both the president, Mr. China Mpololo. Please welcome him. I'm also from Sampa. The other association that forms this forum is SACIA, and SACIA is short for Southern African Communications Industry Association, and SACIA in this forum is represented by my Deputy President or Deputy Chairperson, Mr. Kevin Jones. Unfortunately, who could not make it with us today. We also have TUMSA, which is short for Trade Union for Musicians of South Africa. And TUMSA here today is represented by its president, Mr. Gebi Leroux. Please welcome him. My apology. General Secretary. We are also in the forum represented by IPO, short for Independent Producers as Organization, and IPO is represented today by Mr. Quinton Fredericks. Please welcome Mr. Fredericks. We also have two other organizations called SAIC, which is short for South African Events Council, and SIPA, short for Council of Event Professionals of Africa, and both organizations are represented by Ms. Sue Gannon. Unfortunately, she could not be with us today. We also, of course, the person who pioneered the establishment of this forum when he approached our parliament in 2010, querying events that were happening and taking place in our country. And he represents this gentleman, an organization called SARA, which is short for South African Roadies Association. And SARA is represented in this forum by its president, Mr. Freddie Nyatela. Unfortunately, he could not be with us today. Now let's get into our presentation. I hope I won't be as long as I said earlier. We'll finish at 5. Now, over the last few years, as I've mentioned earlier, individuals from various organizations in the events and audiovisual sector have put aside their differences to work on the development of an industry-specific BBBEE scorecard for our sector. Some of these organizations represent individuals and some companies. Of course, some of you think that these proposed codes do not go far, and others believe that our codes don't go far enough. However, despite our differences, we finally agreed on a document that we feel comfortable with and sending it out to different stakeholders for further comments and further input so that we collectively, with you, can develop this scorecard that serves our sector. During the last couple of months, we have, as mentioned by Mr. Colin Tlajwayo, hosted several webinars and public engagements in different provinces and cities, sharing feedback on our work, and of course, also inviting all interested parties to share their input. We've listened to the feedback, and of course, during that time, made different changes to our initial draft document, not only once, but on many occasions. The first updated draft scorecard was published in the Government Gazette of November 2022. And of course, this document will remain open to the public for further inputs from now on until the time we're going to be gazetting it. During this period, of course, our public engagements will continue. will be visiting all other remaining provinces so that wherever our members are based, we give them an opportunity to learn more about the practical implementation of the scorecard and how it will impact on the employers, how it will impact on employees as well, and how it will also impact on the freelance community that is so critical to the workings of the technical production and live events sector. Thank you. Why is this so important now? And this is one of the questions that we often get confronted with in many of our public engagements. The question is why we need an industry scorecard at all. And if we do need a scorecard, why do we need it now when this event sector and the audiovisual industry has been decimated by the past COVID pandemic in the past years? Of course, there's also lack of funding in this sector and so many other factors that affect our sector. In exploring whether we should develop our own scorecard or use the generic one, we move from the premise that the events technical production sector is very unique. Our sector tends to have smaller companies with very low headcount of highly skilled and experienced people. We employ freelancers as our needs dictate, and our revenues tend to fluctuate enormously because our activities are project-based. The generic scorecard is, of course, a rudimentary tool because it is designed to be used across multiple industries where the structure of the organization is very stable and fundamentally different to that we find ourselves in the events, technical, and production sector. What we are proposing then is to develop our scorecard that allows us to implement a transformation agenda within our industry, and the scorecard that is very specific to our needs. We need to develop this with your input, of course, and this input needs to make the scorecard work for all the different stakeholders. This proposed scorecard covers a variety of events formats, including sport, entertainment, business events. It includes exhibitions, incentive tours, film, television, and audiovisual productions. It includes a range of activities hosted at a stadium, at a venue, or an audiovisual production facilities. It even includes events hosted in a virtual online space. It is a very broad spectrum of activities that cuts across several other industry sectors, and we are aware that in its breadth, there may be companies who are confused about where they fall. Does the event venue, for instance, fall under the tourism sector code? Does a commercial producer fall under the marketing, advertising, and communication sector code? Does a company hosting a virtual event fall under the ICT sector code? Our guidelines response is very simple. This charter applies to any organization that generates more than 50% of their annual turnover from the events or audiovisual sector. We've engaged and spoken to the Tourism Charter Council, and we seem to be on agreement with this. If you are an event venue that offers accommodation, for instance, to event delegates, you can argue that you fall under the Tourism Charter Council. But then if you generate more than 50% of your annual turnover from the events industry, this is the scorecard that you are obliged to fall into. The same applies to audiovisual production companies. If your primary business is producing advertising material, you'll fall under the MAC sector code. If your primary business is producing entertainment for film, television, or multimedia platforms, then this is the scorecard you fall under. If you are an IT company that sells equipment, the IT Charter scorecard will be for you. In August of 2021, NFVF, National Film and Video Foundation, released their 2021 Economic Assessment Study that looked at the state of transformation in the audiovisual sector. They concluded that overall, there are low levels of inclusion and very slow transformation in the audiovisual industry. This is a particular challenge at higher skills level within our industry where there is very limited transformation. They recognize that audiovisual sector has made steady progress on the transformation front in terms of employment and management aspect, but there's been limited progress on the ownership element. Their report specifically highlights the lack of self-sufficient and sustainable Black-owned film enterprises. It also describes how, beyond the public sector, Black film makers and producers often cannot raise or access funding required in order to build a sustainable business. In the events industry where we all belong, similar research exists where we find high barriers to entry for venues and technical production companies because of the high capital costs that are required. There are almost no barriers to entry for event organizers who don't require a high capital investment, but events on its own, it's a high-risk business, and despite a low barrier to entry, and perhaps even because of it, there is a high failure rate of startup businesses and very slow transformation in this industry. As with the audio-visual sector, transformation at higher skills level within that sector has been painfully slow. Black-owned technical productions find it difficult to raise capital or access private funding. And there's been limited opportunity for training and skills development in that sector, particularly business skills required for business ownership and management. Our approach to the development of the scorecard is as follows. We agree that in order to address these issues that I've highlighted earlier, we've taken a long, hard look at the core elements of the BBBEE scorecard, and we've now radically increased the transformation targets specifically for ownership, management control, and skills development. We've also increased the points needed to achieve the various BE levels so that while there are more points available in each category, the targets are also increased. I'm just going to share a few examples of how the proposed scorecard deviates from the generic one, and a good place to start is with the ownership targets. As you can see from the slide, in this instance, the target for exercisable voting rights in an entity held by black people is increased from 25% plus 1 voting share to a mammoth 40%. Of course, our objective here is to incentivize companies to increase black participation in their boards. But the reward for achievement of the higher target is also increased from 4 weighting points, as you can see from the slide, to 10 weighting points. We've also increased the targets for the economic interests in which black people are entitled from 25% as per the generic scorecard to 40% in our scorecard, with a corresponding increase in the weighting points that accrue. We've proposed in the ownership element a very significant increase in the targets related to the economic interests of black people in shared ownership schemes and cooperatives, raising the targets from 4%, as you can see, to now 20%, so that we can encourage black people to embrace the empowerment structures and also to encourage companies to sell shares to their employees. We are looking for greater equity participation from staff or even from surrounding communities where these entities operate. As for the middle management element, one of our big concerns that we identified through the research and also confirmed by the research done by NFVF revolved around the failure of black employees to progress into middle management position. And so in this regard, we've proposed a target to address this bottleneck and create an opportunity for junior employees to progress in their career. This target does not exist in the generic scorecard, and it is introduced in our scorecard in response to the specific challenges that exist in film and the events industry. With regards to the supplier enterprise development, we've also doubled the targets for supplier enterprise development so that we encourage companies not only to create employment opportunities for their own staff, but also to create a black-owned supply chain that can feed into their businesses. Skills development, it's one of the key elements from the generic scorecard. We've also looked into it, and in this case, we've proposed the increase of the target allocated to training and skills development, and specifically because we want to encourage on-the-job training, mentorship, and work-integrated learning programs, as well as more formal education that leads to the award of a qualification or a professional designation. The socio-economic element, which is the last element I'm going to be speaking about, we've also increased the targets for this element because we believe that the events industry in particular has the potential to offer employment opportunities and feed into the much broader event community. We've often seen the development of micro-enterprises that can contribute to events with the production of local craft products. Now, this picture depicts on the reality of what is happening in our industry. While we have published our draft BEE scorecard, it is certainly a work in progress that will be amended based on your feedback. This is your opportunity to collaborate in the development of the industry-specific scorecard that promotes the BBBEE agenda without throttling the economic recovery of our sector after it was hit by the past COVID pandemic and the lack of funding in our sector. We recognize that our sector has been devastated by these restrictions imposed upon us over the last couple of years, and we are aware that many companies in the event sector have scaled down substantially to the point that many now exist only by name on a letterhead or on the side of an empty building. In the events industry, more than 30% of our audiovisual technical crew are now working in the Middle East, in Qatar, in the UAE, in Britain, and in Saudi Arabia. Technical crew working in those areas are working on very interesting and groundbreaking projects that look great on their CVs. They are earning very hard currency, and they are earning it in a tax-free environment. We have no idea whether these people will come back to our country, but we are aware that if we don't create commercial opportunities within our own country, and specifically within our sector, not only will these people who have already left the country stay away. The brain drain, of course, will continue, and our ability to host world-class events will simply evaporate. Training is obviously a part of the solution, but there is, of course, a shortage of young people entering this industry, and at a time when we need more competent people, less of such people are available. Our sector, in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, is facing real economic challenges. And we desperately need to focus on reviving it in order to create a sustainable future. At the same time, we need to, one, address the historic inequalities, create economic opportunity for black people. Two, we need to promote training and skills development as a tool for the economic recovery. Three, we also need to accelerate transformation at a higher skills level by creating structured career paths. Four, we should be in a position to encourage cooperation and collaboration between the established and emerging black-owned businesses. And lastly, we must create opportunities for black-owned businesses to access funding for capital expenditure and, of course, for business development. This exercise is not just a tick box exercise in which we play lip service to the principle of public participation. This scorecard will impact everybody and every entity in our sector. So whether you are a supporter of BBBEE or not is completely irrelevant now. You can either participate in the development of the scorecard that serves our interests, or you can live with the consequence of the clumsy generic scorecard that has been imposed on us without any consideration for the structure and the culture of our sector. The choice is yours. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, yeah. 1, 2, 1, 2. Still can hear me. Yeah. As you can see, the last slide, it says question and answers. This is your opportunity now. We've brought the entire forum members, although some are not here. We know you have not been able to engage on the document that we've distributed. If there's any question or clarity that you want from us, we are here to assist and answer those questions. The floor is now open.
Thank you, Dr. Selemani. I hope you can still hear me. Can you still hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
We can hear you, Lucia. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. And then Dr. Selemani, we thank you for such a detailed presentation. I hope colleagues have put down their questions. I hope they are ready to have a discussion, an engaging discussion, just to unpack what was shared with us. But I quickly want to remind you of the pop-up words that came up in the presentation. We spoke about equity. We spoke about the turnover, how much you need to make as a business. We're talking about the payroll, which affects now how we're going to impact the businesses in this industry. We spoke about the net profit after tax, which are the things that are defining and how we're going to really measure certain scorecard elements. We spoke about new entrants, we talk about inclusion, we talk about economic challenges. We talk about new entrants in terms of you as a business into the big market. We know we've got the smaller market, we've got the macro market, and which are the ones that we're targeting so that they can transform, and their transformation really impacts and really uplifts the new entrants. We spoke about sustainability, spoke about transformation in terms of the transformation that we speak of. I know everybody just speaks of transformation, but we're speaking in this regard in terms of employment equity, which involves other labor relations laws. We speak of skills development, which also speaks of other sectors and Department of Education and Department of Higher Education and Training. We speak about access to funding, and that access to funding in this regard doesn't mean that you need to tell us this is my proposal and this is what I need to do, but the access to funding in this space speaks of the enterprise development, and the enterprise development speaks of I've got a business, it's a small business, I am the sole owner of it, and then there's a tender that came out from business Department of Sports. They need equipment for such an event, then I need to submit. Then the bigger with the macro organizations then will source the smaller businesses to help them, to enterprise develop them, to say we will supply certain equipment, but we want you to bid so that you can help with the running around with your skill, so that we can submit the holistic application, will uplift you to give you access to the business. And then that access then helps you grow. And then for the business to be able to really help you is to put you into their suppliers database. And that is really the supplier development so that they can continue you. But just to recap also on the elements, we've got 5 elements of the scorecard as Mr. Selemani has indicated. And those 5 elements, I think the panel had really looked into to make sure that they accommodate the sector, and they look into the specific nuances in the sector to make sure that we uplift and elevate those differences from the scorecard, which is the generic scorecard, which can really be used by a law firm, it can be used by a general dealer, it can be used by anything. But we are specific in terms of making sure that we accommodate our special needs. We spoke about ownership. So ownership, we do know that it talks about who owns the business, who are the shareholders of the business, who are the equity participants? Are we inclusive of women? Are we inclusive of people living with disability? I think that's what that is here. Salaman was just saying, the chairperson was saying that they looked into this ownership to say, how do we want it to look like for our sector? They looked at the management control, and he did highlight and elevate that they looked at the promotion of the middle managers. And you would know in your small businesses, you don't really have a structure. And I think the Department of Labor now has really made it easy for small businesses not to really go in with how much it makes. It looks at how many people are there to loosen the pressure on the small businesses that don't have like 50 people, 100 people. So this management control helps those macro big business that make more than 10 million per annum to be able to comply. And I'm using this management control with the managers being able to be promoted, because we find that at top level we only have white and white male, to be specific. So we just want to neutralize it. And that neutralization or that transformation, you need to understand that is to help us as black people. And when I mean black, I mean Africans, Indians, and coloreds, to be able to speak our Africans, Indians, and coloreds issues into that so that they can be taken care of. We speak of skills development, very, very specific into making sure that there are technical people that are excluded, that needs to be included because the work is technical, it's practical work. That needs to be taken care of in the specific sector codes. And we speak of supply and enterprise development. I think I spoke briefly on it. And the last one is skills, socio-economic development. And with socio-economic development, we know the target is to say, please uplift the community that you live at, or you are doing a business at. I think I was watching a TV show one day and somebody was saying, we've got all these businesses in this area, but the community is still struggling. So this is to help us really permeate into the environments where big businesses are able to come back and bring the socio-economic development. Socio-economic development can be, there's a soccer team that needs some upliftment, they need some soccer boots in the community to help them, move them from the streets, move them from being amapara, like we know and we joke about the alostros of the world, to help them come into the normal society, to bring them into the normal society. And remember, this bringing back into the normal society is to uplift them and to give them purpose and to be able to generate now, to make people economically active. So that they can participate in the economy and to lift our economy. I think that's the gist of the BBBEE, especially in the sense of the this sector codes, ETPS sector codes, so that we are inclusive and we are able to uplift the economy so that we can be economically active. I'm happy to take questions, and what we will do with questions, I think I will ask maybe Dr. Colin or Menzi to just stand in the podium to pick 3 people. So we'll do rounds of questions. So we'll take 3 questions and the panel will respond to the 3 questions, and then we take another session with 3 questions, and then we give the panel the opportunity to respond to those questions. Please, when you ask your question, like I said, please be specific in terms of understanding the codes and how they will impact your business. And funding questions, maybe we can take them offline because the discussion is about the codes and not really about funding. Dr. Colin, happy for you to help me with the hands so that we can take the questions.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Melucia, may we give Ntate Salimani's presentation a round of applause, and Melucia as well as the members of the forum. Okay. Just to give us a clue, we will need, thank you, we are all noted. I'm just giving us a framework of how we'll operate the questions. I'll just be the facilitator of which section, to go next. So can we start on the left and move clockwise? Is that okay? So we just go this way, and then we see if there's any other questions that come up. The lady here is Sis Mbali, Mono, who comes with us from the department. She will go around with a microphone. Please speak to the mic so that we can have your voice. Like you see, the advert always says, add your voice, so that we can have your voice in the recording of the live stream. Thank you very much. May we start with this table on the left? If any hands that way? Any hands coming up?
Say if we still thinking about the question, what's going to happen? Should we also go when the mic is on that side?
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Yes. Okay, we start on the left. Gone. Middle table there. Not yet. There's a question there. Yes. If you can speak to the microphone.
Yes, thank you. Good day, everyone. My name is KK. I'm from Jo'qabe district. I have a question based on the skill development programming thing, saying that in most cases, some of these forums and everything, we don't get them based on where we are staying because we live very far. So there are also other people that are very interested in such things. So my question is that, do you guys outsource based on, do you have branches or information centers where people can get more info about the business that they are doing and getting helped in the business and stuff? Then the last one will be, as I also said, some of us come from very small towns, so we do not get enough information of this based on developing everything. Is there anywhere where we can get maybe, since there's technology now, maybe we can get maybe websites and stuff where we can ask questions and get clarity or like one-on-one sessions? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Enkosi. There's another hand to the right.
Artist.
Artist.
Mandizibulisele, greetings to everyone. My name is Tandeka Vabaza, and I come from the rural municipality of OR Tambo. First comment is on transformation, which I see there in front is well represented. I see Indians and I see coloreds, and sometimes I'm colorblind, but I can see the transformation. Thank you very much for displaying that. Secondly, we come from a rural community where we don't have like a private sector that supports us, that is business. So we mainly depend on the government. So I would like to know, how is this triple BEE integrated to the district development plan, where we have access to in our remote areas? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Are there any other questions so far? You're still thinking? Okay. Ma'am, where's the hand? Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I'm asking this question because nobody's asking, because I wanted to give everybody a chance to, I just want to know whether there is a monitoring tool in place that will make sure that the departments stick to this triple BEE code. Because I've noticed, especially in my department, where you would find that some of the major services are given to the white companies while there was a BEE policy in place. So I just felt that there was no one to monitor the implementation of the policy. So what is there now that will make sure that the policy is implemented? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Great questions. There's the last question in the front for this round, and then we will give the moderator, Lucia, and the committee an opportunity.
Molweni to everyone. This is Lukolo Zamisa from Nelson Mandela Bay. Just a follow-up on the question that Utata just asked. In terms of this, the big jobs being given to big companies, is there, in terms of development of small businesses, is there a threshold where we can say, okay, a small company will have to work with a big company in a big event in terms of subcontracting, whereby we are not forcefully, but we are included in the running of certain events, so that it doesn't just go to the big business and be told that, no, we're not skilled enough for that, because sometimes the skill is there, but we don't have the capacity to do it, if that makes sense. So that's my question. Is there something that is being implemented to get us there so that we can compete with the big businesses over time?
Okay. Thank you very much. Wonderful questions. Lucia, would you then wish to respond to them? I've noted some of them, meaning the panel,
Yeah.
if you can
Let's give
assist
it
to first. Thank you.
Yeah, let's give the panel. Yeah.
We'll take the first one, where information can be found.
Information of what?
Information of everything, opportunities, the codes,
Good afternoon, everyone. Tateta, Dimdet Mkosa. You know, I'm a bit not concerned, but I'm a bit skeptical. If I listen to the questions, they seem to move a little bit away from the content of the presentation, except this one. And we understand, because this is the same song that has been sang in all provinces. And I guess it goes to one of the elements that you have raised, that the creatives in all these provinces have little opportunity of engaging with government and authorities and so forth. So when they have a platform, that's the only opportunity then to express themselves. That we understand. This panel specifically, we are not working for government. We have no dealings with them except them being mandated by the parliament to support the process that we're dealing with. And there comes difficult to speak on their behalf. However, as Chairperson presented, as soon as we present the submission here to the minister, we are done with the process. Now the regulation and becomes a law is now that is the only process that will be taken over. But we also encourage people, because as we're sitting here, we come from different organizations, so strategically we engage with a lot of influential people and decision makers in the country. Hence, there's nothing you can talk about eventing that we are unable to, for whatever information that it brings, including about events lab. So in essence, is that law process will only be done by national government. Law because once you submit a young land dependent, so that is one aspect of it. The second aspect of it, of your question, ithetha ngento yobu disadvantage kwezindawo nihlala kuzo, you know. I might sound controversial, but I always say to people, the best language that government understands is to put pressure on them. If you want to be lovey-dovey, sending emails, they're not going to listen to you, you know. But now they can listen to you because they need you on May, you know. So always engage authorities of wherever you are. If it means you make noise because of embarrassment. Because it is so sad that industry yethu ithathwa as if it's a by the way, it is entertainers. But you are expected to pay tax. But the very same government does not recognize you as a worker, you know, which is something that ABOKP, the trade union, they're busy trying to change. In terms of your finance, you will remain a junior, and that's not what we're looking for. The fact that we're trying to level the playing field so that now when you grow and you become a big boss, that will be able to take care of events of national importance. So I thought I needed to answer that quickly.
Okay. I just want to comment very quickly on the question about rural development, because that's a key issue that's plagued our democracy for the last 30 years, is the underdevelopment in the rural areas, and that there is not enough investment being made or alignment with national government policy initiatives and local development strategy. And that's a vacuum that we've identified in most of the policy engagement processes. And the most likely avenue of engagement is through your local government strategy, which is actually meant to support local economic development. So if your local authority does not have a local economic development framework in place, you need to engage with them to ensure that such a strategy is put in place, because it's governed by the Local Government Act, that's a key part of rural development. So your first point of call would be your local authority in the particular district that you reside in or that you work in. So I think, and also remember that there is something called the National Development Plan, which has identified rural development as key to growth opportunities for people and small business. And that development plan was developed over a period of 10 years. So you also have that to hold your local authority and even your provincial government departments accountable in terms of district development. So I just wanted to add that to what my colleague was saying earlier on. In terms of the question on a monitoring tool for implementation of the BEE policy, is that once this process is concluded and this document becomes legislation, there will be a BEE council that will be established, and that will be a statutory body which will monitor the compliance of businesses who are governed by the provisions of this particular scorecard document. That means that every year that council will issue companies who meet the minimum requirements of compliance with a certificate that will be valid for a year, which will stipulate in which categories they have scored a particular number of points and in which categories they are lacking in terms of being able to meet those targets. So that body will be a kind of monitoring and evaluation oversight body to ensure that BEE compliance is being met, first of all, and secondly, that we are able to evaluate the data coming in from the compliance targets that are going to be met and where the deficit is that still needs to be addressed in that particular compliance document. So I think that this process has been thought through very carefully to ensure that we eliminate the practice of fronting and that we ensure that companies are not able to bypass the provisions of the scorecard because there will be a statutory body represented by all these sectors and appointed by the minister to actually oversee that process. And if companies are found, as you know, fronting now is essentially a criminal act. So those provisions are being put in place in a very coherent and sustained manner, and that will be your recourse if you feel that those provisions are not being met with any agency that you may be dealing with. I'm going to hand over to my colleague on my right, to Gabby, to answer the next question.
Yeah, hi everybody. My name is Gabby LaRue. I come from the music industry. Most of you you've already blown my cover. I was the guy who brought Mendoza and Kalakata and many other things to those of you who are old enough to remember. You started, your first comment was thank you for transforming. Sure, I think if you look at us, we fairly transformed, including our moderator, etc. Now, there's still an elderly white guy sitting here. But I think one of the things that I regret most is I so much love being an African. I just regret that I was unfortunately born with a white skin. It's the way it is, you can't change it. What I can say to you is you have to remind yourselves, you guys, especially the younger ones amongst you, that our emancipation at this stage is still only political. Economic transformation we've barely scraped the surface. The domination of the white minority was so immense from centuries of colonialization and then manifesting into a regulated, oppressive regime called apartheid. And yes, in everyday life, it might be a lot more comfortable these days to be black. You can go to the post office and you can take part in normal society and you've got a vote. But you are a long way away from economic access. A long, long way. And transformation will not happen on its own. Transformation is a poison, or the need for transformation is a medicine that fights the poison of greed and racism, and in our case, it was linked with capitalism. So I'm not going to be long-winded and give you an ideological discussion, but I want to just awaken, light a little flame in each of your hearts to say to you as young Africans, the job is not done yet. We need each and every one of you. I speak as a unionist. You guys need to organize and walk through the door of economic opportunity. Take what is yours. Don't settle for the fake one. Get the position. Some white guy gives you a position in his company just to improve his BEE profile. Or they employ you year after year after year, but when they don't have work, you've got no conditions of employment because the system doesn't protect you. If they fire you, they fire you. You've got no recourse. We saw in COVID how vulnerable we are. There's no UIF. There's nothing that protects us because we're seen as informal workers. We need to change that. We need to create a structure whereby economic transformation becomes viable for us. The other thing, just in terms of transformation, please also be reminded that the oppression of our sector already existed during the days of apartheid. As a musician, I was oppressed by the Broederbond and the apartheid regime. They saw us exactly the same. Shame, they're going to die as paupers. We must give them a little handout. We are not charity cases. The world is ready for our product. The world is ready for our beautiful culture. You guys are developing the skills. You are the generations that must take that cultural brand to the world where there's the appetite. But you're not going to get it from sitting on your ass. You've got to make it happen. You've got to walk through the doors. If it means, China spoke about that earlier, if it means you have to make the politicians uncomfortable, then do that. Do not be afraid, my brothers and sisters. The future is yours. Walk through that door. Stand up. Be radical. Be determined. Be focused. And stand shoulder to shoulder because there's strength in numbers. Don't just, what you do, don't just do it for yourself. Take others with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to address your question directly. It will fall under the heading of both development and procurement. How we have structured the codes specifically in the document is if you'll go and have a look at the way the procurement codes work. So in order for individuals such as yourself who have smaller companies, perhaps not the greatest experience, we have added points to large companies to procure the services of BEE small organizations for certain portions of an event. So if your speciality is a cameraman, then that is what you will get used for. The purpose of this is twofold. So the first thing is obviously you get the work, or you are able to tender for the work and have an opportunity to work and get paid an income, which is prize number one. Secondly, you have an in, so you get to start networking with the right people. That might lead to more and more work, but that's again, as Gabby said, it's up to you. You know, you can get a foot in the door and you can choose. You can either make a mess of it or you can make a go of it. So it's about your professionalism, your willingness to learn, your willingness to grow and develop. Once you've got it in the organization, then our other section of the code comes in because it's about growth and development within that company. So the more you prove yourselves, the more you will grow. The more you grow, the more you will rise. The more you rise, obviously the more change you can make as an individual. So it's very much in your hands for a lot of the processes that we've put through. We are just giving you the guidelines. It's up to you to take that and put it into action. But that is how we have written it. So big companies will earn bonus points as well as extra points for procuring business with smaller organizations. So the rural companies or the one-man people, you will have equal opportunity to anybody else because now they will benefit from having you join them within their endeavors. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you all. I think it was Keke who also asked how to access the information. Yes, I've asked Mr. Hlachwayo to post some information, contact details, which you can access for accessing this information. And most of it, of course, will be on DSEC website. Same way that we're asking you to make inputs into this document, as you are aware, it exists now only as a draft. For you to be able to make further comments and inputs, there's an email on the DSEC website that you can make your submissions on. But before the end of the session, Colin will be able to post the contact details where you can be able to access. Are there any further questions?
Can I add a comment on the subcontracting question? So on the issue of subcontracting, which we know can be a potentially abusive situation, having worked as a freelancer myself, and because we are freelancers, we are not recognized under the current labor legislation, so you have no recourse. So the subcontracting element would fall also under enterprise development. And under enterprise development, we've recognized and acknowledged the need that big business and medium businesses need to mentor emerging and smaller owned enterprises so that they can score points in that particular category of the scorecard. So we've looked at all of these provisions and we've recognized the barriers of access, and that's why when you go through the scorecard, which admittedly is a 112-page document, you need to pay attention to the detail as to what element you can utilize to support the development of your business objectives and aspirations. And therein you can approach established companies, you can approach local government in terms of their procurement strategy, and you can then hold them accountable in terms of how they farm out the work that is available, not just to established service providers, but be compelled in terms of the scorecard to create provision for you as an emerging or a smaller owned enterprise to get a percentage of the work that they procure in terms of goods and services. So I hope that answers that element of your question, because it's a key aspect of removing the barriers of entry for black-owned businesses into our sector. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Panel members, I'm not sure we still have more questions to be answered. Or we covered everything.
No, there's still a question from the back.
Thank you guys. Ikamang Bongwa
Okay.
from Ematole, stuttering to be specific. Puchan, I think Zalkala Kumkulova say Bulel Dobana Nisnikele chance, but and then as I put an Atlant City, as much as you are not Department of Arts and Culture and Sports Recreation, but we only request as individuals from your different forums in Dobana, nizo sinceda in trying to put this scorecard and then follow a process yazo. So right now Tina sichonge, according to me, ndichonge Department of Arts and Culture and Sports. Uyangixolela uba ndi-wrong mkhulu wam. So class pose imibuzo, siyiposa because you are the only link right now, you know, esidibanisa with the Department of Sports and Culture. Because nina baza report indobana kule program yenebeniyenza, these are the inputs as or the questions or the yonke lonto leyo. To go further, bendicela ubuza based on, just to add kula mbuzo wokuqala ububuziwe kokubana us from the small areas, because it's a serious challenge, nyhani le nto beyibuza ngamfana into yobana we deal with situations whereby departments are not in our areas, they are in the cities. Even when we do send proposals, our areas are not recognized because they are regarded as local municipalities. You understand? We're facing, and yet we've got the abilities to do e-events, for an example. You understand? We're able to do productions. There are people who are skilled. You understand? But so there's quite, from a technical events perspective. Umzekelo, le event kutheni yenzelwe apha eMonti? Why kungakhange kuyo empowerishwa eJoe Gqabi okanye Chris Hani? Why are you still targeting the cities? Because if you're able to go to such areas, you are able not only to influence from a technical perspective, you are also able to influence from a tourism perspective, which means now, because of you, the people of the caliber that you are, once you are able to post, you know, on your social media, on your social page, ubana ubuse Malitswai, Alwal North, you understand? Now people, you've got followers, all of you have got followers. Now you're able to put in Malitswai, an area of that, of a small region like that, district like that one, on the map, just by your presence being there. So it then creates more interest, you understand? Because that's all we have. We've got a scenario that we can, part of what we have is a scenario. And we've got to make use of that. So you guys, as the panelists, you've been in this industry for more than 20 years, so all of you guys, you are known, you are being followed. So events like this, we've got the skill, we've got the technical know-how, but now we don't get such opportunities. That's why I'm asking, why don't you give us a chance? And lastly, would it be possible, how possible would it be if the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture has a targeted budget for the smaller local municipalities specifically? Because as I said earlier, the challenge is that if you are from those areas, your proposal is not regarded. Kujongwa from the cities. And obviously, the technical companies from the cities are going to get business because it's not just they have, but the platform means to apply themselves, you know, both from private sector and from public sector. Us, we don't have that luxury. So would it be possible, how possible would it be that the local municipalities, the departments, arts and culture, babe a specific budget that they allocate, and then it gets monitored so that the local guys can then put any proposals that were based on, their social space and how they can enhance their social space from an eventing perspective. I don't know if I'm making sense now, guys. Those are the two comments and questions that I had. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your comments. I'm going to just address the tourism side and perhaps the interworking between the different departments. So I'll speak for myself as EXA, the Events and Exhibition Association. I am part of this forum, but I'm also part of SA Tourism and the various tourism, and we do try and collaborate. So they have also recently redone their BE documents. And if you want to go and have a look at that, it is on their website, you may do. But we do collaborate with them, and we have had meetings with them to try and see where the overlap is and the similarities. So it is something that we have addressed. And for the rest of a lot of your comments, I'm very sure that the gentleman, Colin and Menzi and everyone who is here will be able to answer that. Unfortunately, we are not able to allocate you a budget. We'd love to, but we are not government workers. But you are welcome to follow any of us and see if you can gain a step up by following one of our associations or joining the association that is best fitted for you in your work, to see if that will open doors and opportunities for you.
Thanks, Lee. Just to add on a few things. Earlier on, I indicated, Mkekazwam, the frustrations and the struggles that creatives always experience in areas of what you are raising, it's not foreign. It's exactly what we've been experiencing. But just to get an understanding of our responsibility. If you remember, in the olden days, especially after 1994, every event of national importance, be Freedom Day, be Women's Day, you would go to a government-funded event with big stages, big lighting, and there were companies like a Bokia House who would do all those things. Now, there's an institution called SARA, Gafrit, which is more of an educational program teaching black kids specifically. It's the only one in the entire continent, When they want their students to be incorporated with the events, they will be sidelined. That's when this thing came up, because as a company, that's phetweng abantu abamhlophe. Now, this is where it came up, because after abantu bengamameli complaining about abantwana bayafunda but they're not getting any practical work, he then wrote to the portfolio committee, which was a trading industry then. So this was an initiative, a trade industry, but because it falls within the mandate of Department of Arts and Culture, that department was brought in to run with the process. But nayo, DTIC is still part of the process. So that's it. So anything that has got to do with a department, Colin, the one who was standing here, he works for the department. Lady Orange Top works for the department. So they are here to deal with all those aspects. But ours specifically, we don't want to speak, we are not their mouthpiece. Not we have our own issues. So that's one part. And secondly, issue your location where we go. It's something that we always discuss jointly, but in most cases, if the province, like in this case, is the one that hosts, the province determine where we should go. But our interest, it has always been that we go to an area where we have a lot of practitioners. Not necessarily that other people cannot be passed in, But it always makes sense because if we don't talk to the right audience, then we'll be just wasting a lot of time. Having said all that, akhonto kunqandayo singa engage and see how we can work together beyond this process. Enkosi Mhlekazi wami.
Let me greet to the house at large. My name is Njabulo from Mnquma. I am going to ask a question. It might seem as monotonous as it will be because it's something that has been asked, but let me translate it to this way. We've got companies that have been atrophied of work because there are bigger companies that are given umsebenzi. Now my question is, since you guys are sitting here as the forum, how difficult or how would it be that you guys would try to approach this in a sense that you do give the challenge to the government or to sports and culture to actually support this small municipalities and local municipalities in actually bringing back what was actually been something that has been happening, to actually give them work so that we also have to bid and come up to the ladder of this BEE structure. Because not everyone wants to sit here on level 1. Everyone wants to grow to level 2 up to level 6. Because now what happens is these bigger companies are being given or recognized because of the work that have been done or they have been doing. So it is not just they are being given work. They have been in practice because they are in cities and in metro cities. And we are in small municipalities. So how would it be that the forum, from your guys' side, as much as we are going to be trying to push and trying to make a noise that we do want this work to be done, but as a forum, how would it be that you suggest to the government that as much of a small budget that they can offer, but they do it to these small municipal locations so that we also do get practice of work and show off our skills? Because now, at the end of the day, what happens is this fronting that you're trying to cut, it will also create nepotism in the sense that they will just take a company, but then they know that they won't register or score them in. They just want to get the job, which is what has been going on.
The lady at the back had her name up, her hand up first, so maybe, yeah.
Good day, everyone. My name is Tuli Samketsu, and I come from Krisani district. I'm an artist there. I just want to ask if you guys can clear it for me. Why is it so important for the department to first pay national artists and put local artists behind? Because now it has become a culture that national artists are paid way before the event or whatever that is going to happen, and we as local artists have to sit and wait and ask for our monies to be paid. Thank you.
Okay, so I want to respond to your comments first. The issue of small business development across all sectors and the challenges associated with that are universal. We have all these small business development agencies. We have the Small Enterprise Development Agency, the Small Enterprise Financing Agency. We used to have a small business development division in the DTIC, which was discontinued. And what you are raising is a universal issue of access to economic activity. And what we are compelled to do as the forum members is to reflect in our feedback on these public consultations. We are compelled to reflect on those issues that have been raised as elements that will impact the implementation of this particular BEE scorecard that may fall outside the scope of this particular forum, but that government and DTIC and DSAC in particular are compelled to take note of because they are key to transforming the industry and driving the creative industries economy, which master plan was adopted by Cabinet in 2022. So for the first time in our democracy, we actually have a policy framework that recognizes that and that stipulates that investment must be driven into the creative industries economy from grassroots to national and provincial government level, but also from small business to big business. And it's the big business that has the workflow and that has the contacts and the capacity and the resources. And how do we build that? And that's an issue that government has to consider in a political and economic context. Just to respond to your question around why national artists get paid is because they have a higher public profile and they tend to be networked and politically connected. And the issue that you're raising about non-payment of small businesses, again, is an issue that has been raised with national government, that the turnaround time for payment to small businesses contracted to deliver services to government is supposed to be 30 days. And we know that that never happens. We have businesses going bankrupt, we have people starving and ending up in debt because they've not been paid for months and months after they've delivered on the service that they were contracted to do. And that's a major issue. And if you paid attention to the newspapers over the past couple of weeks, you'll see that this issue has come up in a number of forums in terms of disbursements to national artists who get pre-financed to do events and productions, and people who don't have the same profile end up at the last end of the payment leg. And that's a major issue, and again, it's across all sectors when it comes to small business development. I don't know if you want to comment further on that, Gabby.
Yeah, I want to just follow on of what you said, and you're an artist, obviously, so as TUMSA, you're quite important to us. But we're here today to address broad-based Black economic empowerment. So that's kind of what the topic is. But we also realize that guys like yourself, you don't often have the opportunity to meet with people like us, and we don't want to just shut you down. So in that context, I want to say to you that each of the representatives here and those who are not present, we have our own battles that we're fighting every single day. I mean, as TUMSA, just to become a union is a battle for us. These guys in the movie industry, Leanne in the exhibition industry, and our two promoters on that side. Freddie Nyatela is busy fighting for the roadies at the moment. He's got a huge battle on his hands. So we are in the trenches. As we said, we haven't arrived. We may have had limited success, or in some instances big success, but it's a daily battle to survive in this cultural and creative sector. And that's what I said earlier. You guys must realize, when it comes to allocating budget from the Treasury and from the Department of Finance, our sector is the lowest one in the food chain. Yet, the product that we collectively have, our collective cultural brand, look at our fashions, look at our music, look at the movies, the stories we are able to tell. Look at the way we are able to present international exhibitions, but with an Afrocentric feel, what the world is not used to, and there's the appetite. And yet, as Black promoters, I can say to you now, their biggest problem is that most of those big international names that come out here, the promotion companies involved, are white-owned. And these are the struggles that we have. So you're talking to people here who are in the trenches. Now I want to go one step further, and this is addressing your issue. So not only is our sector at the bottom of the food chain, but it is also driven from urban centers outward. So the little bit that is available first goes to the big cities. Joburg, Cape Town, Durban. You know, those are the big three, if I could put it that way. Then you would get PE, you would get, I suppose, East London, Mangaung, Bloemfontein, and it gets smaller from there. And then we come to your village, Lusikisiki or Port St. John, wherever. So you're further down the food chain. And I'm telling you, I'm being realistic about it, sister. This is exactly the problem. So I'm saying to you here today, all of us in our sector are in the trenches. We have our own battle to fight in terms of transformation, because we're not fighting only transformation based on color, but we are fighting transformation on the basis of that what we do as a career and as an occupation. We are warriors who are fighting that battle. And the only thing that we have, or should I say our biggest secret weapon, is the culture we have. So in what you do, I'm urging you, please, I see your beautiful, the two ladies there, the way you are dressed, and in the exhibitions that you do, in the movies that you make, in the theater pieces that you present, in the events you have, make sure that you do not try and look like Hollywood. Do not try and, hey, yo, what's up, my nigga? Don't try and act like Hollywood. Speak your language. Mix with English a little bit, that's fine. But be an African. Because that is your product. That is what makes your product unique. Doesn't matter what you do. So I haven't answered your question. Unfortunately, I'm not the treasury. But your battle is one I recognize, my sister. So in your case, I would say, please feel free to speak to me about TUMSA, about becoming unionized. For you guys who are in movies, speak to this guy and identify promoters. Speak to, you've got two high hitters in the promotion, exhibitions here, and then tourism is a natural link. We've covered that because that's the one that's going to take, people with money. They're going to bring them to your villages. That's where tourists want. They don't just visit the big centers. They want to get out in the country. And those are the opportunities that we have to be able to see and find ways of putting pressure on our government. And I'm not saying government, only the ruling party. Parliament, portfolio committees. We have got work to do, my brothers and sisters. We have a big battle to fight. And each one and every one of you must come on deck. We need all hands on deck. See you on deck.
Just my last comment. I heard my colleague Chu explaining, it's actually that's a perception that important artists are the bigger one, because your next question is not going to be the duration, it's going to be the amount, why you are being paid small, why they are being paid big. But you know, I've been in this game. This year my company is celebrating 35 years. And we have worked with all the big artists. Huma Sekela, Kaifas, Linda, Brenda, you name them. One thing that I've learned in this business, you don't get what you deserve. You get what you have negotiated for. Now, one of the problems that you'll experience as creatives, especially musicians, you tend to forget that you are a business. You only stick to your creative side of it. Now, when you do that, you end up trying to do everything yourself, and you're not going to succeed. That's why you'll find other people having managers, having publicists, because they need to build their brands. So have that in mind, get people abazokuncedisa and make sure that your brand grows. Uzokwazi udemand into zidemandayo now. Otherwise, it is wrong. Because there's no regulation in Treasury that says major or so-called well-recognized artists must be paid first. No. You're all service providers. Everybody must be paid at the same time. And goes Mdasekai.
Okay, thank you so much. Sorry to interrupt you. I think you're going to be the last person to take a question. We have 3 colleagues who need to fly to different destinations. Their shuttle is already here. They are flying at 2:30. So we'll take this question, but some of us who will be here will be able to take your questions and engage you any further. So let's take your last question, and we can engage with you any further.
Thank you, Tata. Ndinguchawe mna unconde ukhawuta umdanga chiwo. Igama lam ndinguMasithembe, ndinguvena ifani. I come from the OR Tambo district from Mthatha. I'd like to ask something before to the Transformation Forum. One, we must all work together in influencing the money that goes to municipalities. There's no money for the arts in those municipalities at all. Where I come from, the creatives art is under tourism, under LED, under a one office, one desk person that knows nothing about the arts, that cares know-how about the arts. So how does this forum influence government so that that money that goes there to the municipalities actually goes to the arts? Because the arts are not, before I am a citizen of the South Africa, I'm a member of a ward. On those wards that I come from, nothing that talks about the art. We need these forums, also ourselves, as people in the ground, to understand how do we take the power, because the money that comes from Treasury to the provincial government, half of it goes to the municipalities, where municipalities, they tell you that we have money for water and building toilets only. If you come with the art program, nothing. The Department of Arts and Culture, here in the province, if we go to my district, we are the district with many people, but we are only given 400,000 for all arts things that we do in the district. How does this forum and us influence government to actually make the change? We don't want these talk shops. Lastly, in the comment that I just made, that some of the panelists are having to go. We travel, I woke up at 3 a.m. today. I'm here, and I'll be told that I'll be leaving at 3. I do want to go and do my business, but I respect this invitation. That's why we speak so much, because we don't have this time to engage with the government. When people from these big departments from the national government, they come here and manage their time, instead of listening to our problems and tell us that I know 8 people should talk, the MEC must go. Now we were here. What was that? This is being done. The MEC was here, Zizi Okoto, the minister. We were mourning, we were managed in this hall. We were never given time to talk what we want. So these things, they must stop being just a talk shop and then just to account to government that we finished the budget at the end of the year. This is not the way to do it. So I'm asking Utata from the department. They must not call us 2 days before an event and say, hurry up, come, there's a big thing that is coming on. That is not good at all. Thank you so much.
I think we've heard the comments from the people who attended here. Just to remind you what China had said earlier, none of us here work for the government. We are all individuals that own entities that we run, and very often we are in loggerheads with the government. The questions, most of the questions, especially the last 3 or 4, were directed at the department, not us. Our mandate here today is to talk to you, as KB had outlined, about transformation and the development of the triple BBEE sector code. And if you want to engage on that, we are open to talk to you about that. We've come to the end of the session. As I indicated, we are here, not all of us, but some of us who are here, myself, Leanne, and whoever else is here. If you need to engage us, if you want more questions to be answered, we are glad to take those questions and deal with them. I want to thank you all for your time, and certainly we will expect you to engage us more, send more of your comments regarding the development of your sector code. Goodbye.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you, Chair. I think Chair has summarized for us to come to a closure, but we just going to also give an opportunity to Lucia, who is with us from the other part of the globe, I hope she can hear us, to also give us her parting shots. And then we'll come to close. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bob Colin. I hope you can hear me. Thank you to the panel for all the questions. And thank you to you, participants, for participating and really being engaging. It was really an engaging session. I really appreciate it. My takeaway from the responses, also from the panel, is Gaby saying we must make it happen, and making it happen is making sure that you go through the scorecard. I think the most important thing is to go through the scorecard and, as a business, see how it's going to benefit you. And then when you see the loopholes, when you see, oh, this is not tight enough, or this element can help us in this way, please do send us an email, and send the email to events. I think Bob Colin will put up the email address. It's events.sectorcodes@dsec.gov.za. And then also you can go onto the website and then get the codes if you want to look at it online, to be able to see what it means if you are an online person. I know we are TikTokers, we are Instagram people, we are Facebook people, to be able to engage. But I think one thing that I will say to you, as business owners, as people that want to really get into the market and understand what are the benefits of this scorecard to your life and to your business, is to make sure you get into those databases of being a service provider, of being an enterprise to be enterprise developed as a business. But as Gaby said, go and make it happen. And I hope you registered to vote for this year's voting rolls. Hope you are ready to make that decision that will help you to make it happen as well. And for information, I think the panel has indicated, if you want more information, there is BBBEE Commission. And BBBEE Commission also is a website that you can get all the information that you want. If you want to pose a question and just wants to understand a simple theory, what does transformation, what does it mean? You can just tap it on the BBBEE Commission to get all the details. You can go on the DTIC website to get the information, so that you can be really fast-tracked into understanding what these codes will do for the sector and for us as South Africans. Thank you. I'm also a product of BBBEE. If it wasn't of BBBEE, I wouldn't be in the Netherlands to showcase my skill. So I'm saying there's hope for you South Africans. I'm also not from big cities, so there is hope for all of us. And if they are implemented correctly, beneficiaries will show up. Thank you, Bob Colin. I believe that there's lunch provided. Yeah,
Yes.
so for everybody who's come through, please don't go home before nibbling on the lunch that's there, and engage with the panel members so that you can have all those other questions relating now to your small businesses that you need some help with. Thank you so much from me, Lucia Perinyami Mukoga. Thank you so much. We'll see you on the other side.
Okay, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. This brings us to the end of the session, and I am respecting the chairperson's salutation of closing the meeting. However, I know that there was some questions related to the department. Please do approach, I'm here, I'm available. But in one or two sentences, the department is indeed looking very strongly into the live events, technical and services production sector, and we're looking at how we can develop programs that will enhance skills and all these other elements to assist, because the focus indeed has been much on the content development of what we are all about in the cultural creative industries. But there is now attention towards this particular sector. So with time, we will be eventually responding to these other questions that you have mentioned of how to reach to the most remote of our society. We're trying to project there at the top. This is part of an advert that we send out to the newspapers. I think here in your province, the Eastern Cape, in the Daily Dispatch vet, which does have the details of where you can find everything. We've also been trying to live stream this through the Eastern Cape Indaba Facebook page and the Free State online. So there's the events technical production sector code at dsac.gov.za email address. But I'm here anyway, and we've got a long lunch that is coming up. I'm not sure if it's there. I heard that the caterer, they are on their way. So we'll just hang out for them to come. But in the meantime, I'm approachable. I'll just station myself. I'll station myself here. Then we will go off from the live session because we need to close the BEE session. And then I can engage with you. I can even stand here for any other question that you wish to ask. And the other members of the forum, they are here. As the chairperson had said, they are still also approachable after we go offline because we need to close that. Thank you so much. Thank you. A round of applause for everyone who's been here. Thank you. Thank you very much.